Hey, greetings, friends. Jacque Howard here, and welcome to Trenton 365 Performing Arts. This is also Trenton 365 Midweek. I'm broadcasting from Hub 13 West, Front Street, historic downtown Trenton. This is an innovation center, an incubator space, 420 friendly, and I'm in the section that's considered the great room. And in this area, there's a mural behind me that's recently been done by Billy M.F. Brown, aka Roy Hames the third. Now, Roy Hames, along with Lazy and Jay, have a bunch of art that's on display at the gallery at Hub 13 as well. In addition to that, you can check out the website hub-13.com to book an event, schedule a tour, inquire about membership, because yes, this is a members facility. And in addition to that, you can learn about some of the upcoming events. One of those events is my 55th birthday celebration. It's going to take place on December 18th. Now, this is going to be a fundraising roast hosted by comedian Dan Regan. Dan Regan's been on the show before. He has been featured on the Howard Stern show. He's been done some writing for Mars Candy, and he's got a big following on Instagram and TikTok. So his name is Dan Regan. You can find out more about going to that event on the Facebook page, which is Trenton 365, or reach out to me directly on any of those platforms. So I want to lead in and talk about why I'm doing the performance arts, Trenton 365 performing arts interview this week. Literally, this was this past week was pretty awesome in a bunch of regards. I got a chance to spend some time with Larry White, who is an amazing longtime musician, reggae artist, and guitarist here in the area. And I got a chance to connect with him and see him perform live. But in addition to that, I got a chance to reconnect with Jamaican Dave, who's a promoter out of Philadelphia. And I'm sure those of you who follow Trent 365 have seen some of his efforts and his work come through the pages as I've been sharing it. But I got a chance to meet a new friend, Chris Batista of CMB Reggae. Now, Chris has been doing a bunch of different things. We're not going to get into all the details about his professional work and his experience doing that, but we want to talk at least at the intro to talk about reggae music and why he's so passionate about reggae music, and then to also dive into some of the events that he has coming up. And one of them is the first Winterfest done by CMB Reggae. It's going to feature SUNDUB, Mighty Music, The Exaltations, and this is going to take place at Milkboy in Philadelphia. So big shout out to the Milkboy crew as well. So with that, I want to talk specifically to Chris. Chris, first of all, man, thanks for getting this together so quickly with me. You know, sometimes when the energies collide, you know, there's this big, you know, explosion and synergy and all these different things that takes place. I believe that is what happened on Saturday with you, Jamaican Dave, and being able to see Larry White. It was an awesome experience. So thanks for taking your time to share, you know, who CMB Reggae is, who Chris Batista is, and talk a bit about that. And then let's get into talking about this event that's coming up at Milkboy.
Okay. CMB Reggae has been around for about 4 years now. It kind of started as, something that was just a hobby of mine because I had some connections to reggae artists and I would just love to go see them perform. And that kind of became part of a group where, a handful of us would go to different shows around the city of DC, and then suddenly it branched out beyond DC and, taking trips down to Virginia Beach and some other places. And then these Facebook groups started to come together where there were new artists that wanted some opinions about, what they sounded like and whether or not they could do anything larger than, playing corner cafes. And then after doing that for a while, people began to socially know me, and they were, I mean, initially I think they were they kind of liked that I really knew the music well. I've been listening to reggae for 35 years now. I mean, to the point where, I was always the one that was trying to go out and find the new sound and listen to the new thing, and I've been doing that for a very, very long time. And then when the people that I was hanging out with found that I had some contract expertise as a lawyer, I think a lot of them just encouraged me to go out and do something more with this. And they were basically, the consensus was is that these artists go out and promote themselves anyway, and they have their own followers and their own finding. And ultimately, these artists would come to me and they say, "Look, well, we've got our own set of followers. Get out there, get in front of this. We will cross promote you." So I started to do that. I started a Facebook and Instagram page along with YouTube videos that basically was focused exclusively on what was going on in the reggae scene, not just in one town, but in the entire Mid-Atlantic. I use the expression everywhere from New York to Virginia Beach. And so what I did after that was put together just like a niche YouTube/Facebook/Instagram channel that would show, even at the underground level throughout all these towns, who was playing where and what was going on in these respective scenes. And considering that I travel in my professional job in the same circumference of the entire Mid-Atlantic, it became easy to merge my personal and business life on that front. About a year and a half ago, I decided to formalize that a little bit more and decided to release on a weekly basis who's playing where, which is a list of every single reggae act that I have come across, and the development of years of intelligence to tell people that which it is I know of who is playing where in any given venue in the Mid-Atlantic. So that's what CMB Reggae is about. And we could talk later on in the interview about how that turned into a promotional thing.
Great. Thank you so much for that information, Chris. While I was doing some background, research on you, you had talked about how you were like really captivated by the culture, everything about it, and that you had came to reggae through dancehall. Can you just share a bit more about that?
Okay, well, the idea of following the underground scene actually comes from before that. I was active in the DC hardcore scene in the late 80s, where, I would go to those shows of 200, 250 people in a mosh pit and make sure that I shook hands and hung out with every artist that was there. So the the underground experience is not foreign to me. Okay. Um, I went to I went to college in North Jersey in 1991, and being in the suburbs of Manhattan, where hip hop dancehall was all the rage, gave me this unique window into going down a Canal Street, getting the mixtapes, listening to all this music that I don't think anyone outside of New York was listening to in the country anywhere. And while I was doing that, I decided that I was going to venture a little bit more into the kind of sound that was going on in Jamaica. So yes, that's how I got into reggae music. It wasn't through Bob Marley. It wasn't through California ska. It wasn't through any of that. This was a personal pursuit of mine that really wasn't even shared with anyone at the time. And now looking back has turned out to be really helpful in terms of my knowledge of this and the street cred that was acquired throughout all those decades.
Well, it's
It's
good to
just
hear that.
It's real weird that, these things that are your personal passions that happened 30 years ago suddenly become something instrumental or crucial in what it is you're doing right now. But I feel like that's part of what has happened over the last couple of years.
Well, I mean, it's obviously it's a testimony to the work that you've put in and how long you've been
Mhm.
doing it, and the fact that people are always watching and people are always paying attention. So it
Yeah.
makes sense to always be, professional, be kind, be courteous, all those different things. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and eventually, the hard work it will pay off. And it's special when you can do something that's a passion project too. You know what I mean? Which is awesome.
Mhm.
So, let's transition and talk about a passion project, because you've got your first Winterfest, the CMB
Mhm.
Reggae Winterfest, which is happening in January of 2024 at the Milkboy.
Move the
January,
camera to the poster there on
yeah,
the corner.
yeah. Might be tight for them to see that, but let's talk about that, how it all came about, and then go into the details about the bands, the acts who are going to be there, and a bit about your relationship with them.
Okay. Well, uh, the the promotional slash booking agent aspect of CMB Reggae really only started to come to fruition about a year ago. And part of it stemmed from just kind of like my own little op-ed submission on my Facebook page about what I thought about the lineup of One Earth Reggae Fest in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania 2 years ago. There was a lineup of 10 artists that spanned 30 years and across all different genres of reggae. And I just did a 2-page write-up of my personal opinion about all these artists. And it got the absolute undivided attention of One Earth Reggae Fest themselves. Because the way that they put this lineup together, they literally had to have a committee of different people, different types of reggae fans to be able to put this lineup together. And, I knew all these acts from top to bottom. And so what wound up happening was after I submitted that and One Earth Reggae Fest happened 2 years ago, they called me and they're like, we want you to help us put together the lineup for the next year.
Mhm.
So that was how I got into that. Now, I mean, ultimately, there was some falling out. Some of those things didn't come to fruition, but the process of starting off with 300 conceivable artists that could play out of, in a 10 artist lineup for a 1 day festival, and just going through process of elimination of who can you afford, who balances out the tickets so you don't go too deep into any one area of reggae for mass appeal, who is close enough to travel, who is in a work permit situation, who has sufficient connections that they can pick up the phone and call somebody and know that they're going to get a call back from that person.
Mhm.
So all of those things, I spent, a handful of months with the team trying to do this for an event, and ultimately the end of that event was, I think the attendance was somewhere around 13,000. So that gave me some real experience in learning the constraints of this and how to make it work. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I have that experience, and uh, that and my contract knowledge and my understanding of mergers and acquisitions. I think I can put all these component pieces together and start doing shows.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's what happened, and I mean I've had tons of help along the way. Um, when there are other promoters who get shares for local acts that are not big enough, that the big people don't want a part of it, I already get their undivided attention. And then, when they find out that I'm going to be in the business of putting on shows, they're like, oh yeah, we'll help you too. And that is kind of how I came across Jamaican Dave. And Jamaican Dave was was very helpful in giving me some of the tips and tricks of how to go do promotion from the social media side and from some of the other aspects of the game that I was not quite familiar with when doing business with the small clubs and basically the process of how it gets done. You know, I was already familiar with the when, who, and where, but I was not familiar with the how, you know? So yeah, Jamaican Dave was instrumental in helping me, and he gave me access to some principal people who could help me put this together, and then I decided to go do it. So that's how it came about.
Awesome. Now, the location, Milkboy, briefly give them a shout out because I mean, you know, having venues, large and small, especially since COVID, has been
Uh-huh.
very difficult. And I think that it's given us an opportunity as promoters, as media folks, as connectors to redefine what those relationships look like and the importance of those relationships. Just talk about, you know, what it's been like, you know, working with Milkboy and them hosting the event.
Okay, well, in any given city, um, there are clubs that have different levels of capacity. And from a business perspective, if you are in the business of doing live entertainment, you're very seriously incentivized to control or buy up a number of places that all have different levels of capacity. Because this way, you know, when the promoter comes in the door, sometimes they'll bring in a 1,000 person audience, a 600 person audience, a 200 person audience, and nobody wants to be in a position where they turn away the opportunity because they
Right
don't
on,
have
brother. Right
it's the right
on.
size, right? So that's kind of what that is about. If you take a look in any major city, you're not really talking about negotiating with individual clubs. You're talking about negotiating with conglomerates who control multiple clubs, all of different capacity. I don't know if that answered your question.
It did, and it did
Okay.
in a very strategic manner, which is why I'm trying to, through my programming, is to explain to folks that it's a lot more that takes place that you have to be aware about, which is why it's very important, and it behooves everyone to have a strong team around. A strong team of trusted people who can look you straight in the eye and give it to you straight,
Yeah.
not sugarcoat things, but be honest with you, because there's going to be challenges in whatever it is that you're involved in. So again, it's super important to have people who you trust, people who are professional, people who have a good reputation, not just among your network, but among
Mhm.
lots of different networks. If this
Yeah.
person is causing troubles and issues in one group, eventually they're going to be causing troubles and issues in another group. And the music and performance space is no different than any other industry where you've got groups of human beings that are coming together.
Well,
People who work.
I'm
Hold on, hold
going
on, I'm
to
gonna finish.
school.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna finish it. It's my show. We can go on your show and talk about it your way. But here on
All
my
right.
show, it's all about building community. And the importance of building community is recognizing that everyone who's at the table has an equal say. At least that's how I do things. And if I am ever in a situation where I'm not giving someone else a fair share, then that's a problem. And you best believe that if I'm in a space where I'm feeling as though I'm not getting a fair share, I'm going to speak up and or not participate. And I think that that's the kind of mindset we need to have more people take on because there's plenty for everyone. And when we specifically drill down on cultures like the reggae culture, it's about an ideology of unity and oneness. So if that's the case, there's no competition in it. And if that's the case, what's good for me is good for my brother or my sister. And if we don't have that mindset when we're doing the business of it, we're going to continue to have problems. So that's where I'm coming from with it. That's what I stand on. And I encourage anybody who's going to do anything with me to stand on those principles as well, because those are the ones that allow you to sleep good at night, for you to have
Mhm.
a healthy life and a lifestyle and a long, prosperous lifestyle, not one where it's a crabs in a barrel mentality. So I'm glad to hear that you and I share those points, but I just want to make sure that it's very clear out there for folks, at least from where I'm coming from. And if you want to jump in there and share a bit more, please do so.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that live entertainment is slightly different than other things because of the massive amount of passion and the buzz and the intention of people who are all involved, and that there are circumstances where you will get volunteers that will be able to help you do things that will come out of the woodwork. um, and the need to go push that show forward also makes people want to be in a place where they don't say no. If there's an opportunity, and so somebody says, well, I have a 600 person venue, and that guy over there has a 300 person venue. Under normal circumstances, if those are two different people, then the plan just dies. But if there's passion and people love it, the 600 person guy will call the 300 person guy and say, hey, can you do this? And then the answer is yes. That is, I right now I surf on a lot of that inertia, and it cannot be minimized, and it can't be dismissed. The way the big musical movements get off the ground is by this kind of stuff. It is not just simply a money changing exercise. Did I lose you? Did you freeze up?
No, I'm here. I'm just
Okay.
waiting for the exclamation finish on your side. But
That was it.
that was the answer.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, fantastic. All right. So before we finish up, Chris, let's talk about the acts who are going to be on the CMB Reggae Winterfest happening Thursday, January 4th at Milkboy in Philly, 7 p.m. Tickets are $25. Can you just talk about the acts and
Okay. All right. SUNDUB is the headliner, and SUNDUB has been doing some truly advanced dub style music for several years now. And the lead vocalist, Joanna Teeters, is, I mean, she's just got a voice that's incredible, and a musical range that really almost defies logic. I mean, she's done covers of Chaka Khan. She can sing Aretha Franklin with ease. She can do any type of thing, and to take that vocal sound and then combine it with some of the most classically skilled of dub instrumentals. In America, it's pretty rare. I mean, does it exist? Yeah, it exists, but um, SUNDUB has a massive following in the Brooklyn area where they locally are, and they were looking to branch out. They did a couple shows in New York with scientists doing a live mix of their performances, which I would imagine would probably be quite a sight. And so they did a four town tour, and Milkboy in Philadelphia is the kickoff for that. Now, Mighty Mystic is, I would say Mighty Mystic is probably the largest reggae draw in Boston currently. He plays all over the Boston area and is really starting to get some type of national attention. I met Mighty Mystic because he was one of the headliners of the One Earth Reggae Fest for the last for the lineup that I helped put together. So we had a pre-existing relationship there, so I was able to pick up the phone and call him. And then the opening act is the Exaltations, of which I just completed an interview about 2 or 3 days ago with them. They are a 9-piece reggae band of seasoned Philadelphia area veterans. Every single one of them has played with at least 4 or 5 bands over the last 20 years. And they had the opportunity to open for Beres Hammond in August at the Keswick Theater, a venue of 1,300 seats, and just absolutely blew the place up. So when I was thinking about who was going to be a local opener, the Exaltations were the ones that came to mind, and I decided to go give them a call. So that's pretty much the lineup.
Fantastic. And Chris of CMB Reggae. Look forward to
CMB
sharing more about the Exaltations, Mighty Mystic, and SUNDUB,
SUNDUB. Yeah.
through Trenton 365 Performing Arts. Chris, with that being said, when you come back, let's talk about how we can get more of the reggae fans who are in the area to get more engaged, with some of these acts and things that you're doing. I mean, because again, CMB Reggae has got a well-known, reputation, and you're doing things like you advertise from Virginia to New York. So
Yeah.
there's a large swath of people who can make a day trip, an overnight trip, and see a lot of good shows between that direction. Closing out the interview, can you just make one, I don't know, like one general appeal to those folks who are just finally hearing about CMB Reggae and about what you're doing?
In terms of bringing things together in communities and what are I think you're asking me what do you do if you're a kind of person who likes reggae and doesn't really have it in your town, you know? Um, I mean, look, I'm just an outside observer here. I'm not a musician. I mean, I guess some people could tell you to pick up a bass guitar and start learning how to play. Other people could say get in a car and drive there. You're less than an hour in any direction from another scene, but I would just say, yeah, in terms of personal passion, if you have a personal passion and you're trying to pursue it, we live in a seamless social media environment where it is painless and costless, and your virtual life should reflect your personal preferences, and you should be playing up and promoting the things that you like in this world, and make it a part of your life. We have a unique opportunity to do that in America today. We didn't have it 20 years ago. It's just here now. And the best thing is that if it's sweat equity, it doesn't cost you a dime.
Great finish, Chris. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for your time. I can't wait
All right.
to do more with sharing what you're doing with CMB Reggae, and also attending the CMB First Winterfest Reggae event happening Thursday, January 4th in Philadelphia at Milkboy. Thanks, Chris.
Okay. All right. Take care.
And that's it, friends. It's about building community wherever you are, being open, thinking about oneness, thinking about WH wholeness in community. I'm stoked for what CMB Reggae is doing. I'm looking forward to learning more about what they're doing and sharing more about what Chris is doing through his networks and connecting Trenton 365 Performing Arts networks with his as well, because that's how we build a better community for everyone. Remember, friends, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.
Take care.